A long time ago, in a land far away, a fictional story took place where once upon a time there was a happy little family with a father, a mother, and 2 daughters. But the father went off to war and was never seen or heard from again. And the family was very sad. They missed their dad because he never came back. Then, many years later, there was a king in the land. And the king, his land was very poor, and everybody was sad. He was the king of the land where the family lived. And so he had an idea. I have an idea. I'll have a competition in the land to make everybody happy. I'll start handing out money. I got lots of that. The people are poor, but I'm pretty rich. So I'll have a competition to see who is the best child in the entire kingdom. And to that one child, I will personally give 101,500 gold pieces for being such a good child. So, I'll bring my messengers. Come over here, my messenger. I'll bring my messenger and say, go out to the whole kingdom and give the children's the invitation to come to the castle to see who will be the best king, the best kid in the whole kingdom. Alright? Go tell them to come. Thank you. Thank you. And so, the messenger went out and wound up and went to the family, which had the mother and the 2 daughters. And the mother and the 2 daughters were at the house when the messenger came and told them, go out and go to the king to see who is the best king in the whole kingdom. I give you 2 royal invitations. Give them the royal invitations. Perfect. And so the mother sent out the 2 daughters. It was still safe back then. And she gave them a big bag of money. But she gave the money to the older daughter. And the older daughter's name was Prideful. And the younger daughter turned around and faced the audience. And her name was Giggles. No, her name was Humble. No one knows what the mom's name was. She wasn't important. But the oldest daughter's name was Prideful. And the younger daughter's name was Humble. This is the story of Humble and Prideful. So, Humble and Prideful started off on their journey. But they came across a well. But before they got to the well, they were arguing because they didn't get along, like some siblings don't. And Humble and Prideful walked to the well. But Prideful got there first because she didn't wait for Humble, because Prideful was a jerk. And she only cared about herself. And she was like, oh look, water.
Oh look, water.
And she started drinking water out of the well. But she only got water for herself. And then she heard some mumbling in the bushes. Water, please. I'm dying over here. Give me some water, please. But Prideful, being prideful as she was, thought, no thanks. I'm on my way to the palace to show the king and everybody how awesome I am. So she left the water and she left her sister and just kept on walking. But Humble got to the well. And then she heard, water, please, I'm dying over here. And Humble was like, what a poor, she saw a young man that was dying of thirst, and she decided to give him some water. So she got a bucket of water, and she gave it to the young man. Thank you, thank you. Look, 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 look. Before she got herself water. And then the young man sat up and he's like, man, I feel great. Thank you for saving my life. So nice of you. And then Humble left and kept on following her sister. By this time, Prideful was far ahead of Humble because she was older and had longer legs, I guess. So she just walked away. Her mom told her to take care of her younger sister, but that's boring, so she just left her. And then there was a man, a farmer, who was on his way to the market to sell potatoes. There was a famine. He had potatoes but nothing else. And this man was limping badly because he had been attacked by ravenous wolves that bit his legs. And so, this farmer was on the way to market carrying a sack of potatoes. Man, these potatoes are really heavy. But he was bleeding and limping. Ugh, my leg! The potato's so heavy. And then, and he was on the way to market to sell the potatoes to buy other food because you can't just live off potatoes. Can you? And then all of a sudden, Prideful came along. And he was like, hey, little girl, can you help carry the sack of potatoes? I'm hurting here, so I got attacked by wolves. My wife and kid is starving. We had a bad harvest. It's hot out here. My potatoes are falling out of the bag. Come on, potatoes. Shape up there. Just keep it together, potatoes. And then Prideful turned around to the audience and thought to herself, I could help him. But then what would the king say? Keep it together, potatoes. This is your only role in the movie. Bend those knees. Forget it. Then Prideful said, but what would the king think if he saw me helping this poor little despicable farmer in his little sack of potatoes? I got bigger and better plans in the capital. I'm gonna keep on walking. Goodbye, little farmer man. And the farmer's like, ugh. First my leg, now the potatoes, and now the girl's a jerk to me. What next? And then another little girl came along, Humble, and she saw the man limping, and then she offered him to help carry his potatoes. She's like, I could help him, but then I'll be late, and what will the king think? But you know what? No. I should be nice. It's better to help someone else than just to help myself. And she said, hey man, can I help you carry the potatoes to town?
Hey man, can I help you carry the potatoes to wherever you want?
Yes, please. Carry my potatoes. That way. Come on, let's go. And she carried the sack of potatoes to town. Man, those are the biggest potatoes I've seen in my life. Just as it was getting dark, Prideful came to the royal city with the castle. Look at that castle, Prideful. So beautiful, isn't it? But because it was close to dark, the castle gate was shut. And the guard was standing at the door, and the drawbridge was pulled up. So Prideful was like, too late to go to the king today. I'll have to take this big bag of money. Oh, they had some food in there too. I'll take this money and get a hotel room and maybe buy a new dress so I can go into the king. I don't know what happened to my sister, but that's her problem. And then there was also a well in the town, the capital. And there at the well, there was, can you throw me that real quick, please? There was a beggar. Now, this beggar had been in a war because his face was partly covered because of he lost an eye fighting in a battle. And he saw the little girl, and he's at the water well, and she was like drinking water. Go ahead, it's clean. And then he was like, hey, I'm dying of hunger over here. I got plenty of water. I see you got some bread. Can I have a piece of that, please? And then Prideful was like, get lost, you bum. And she took the bag of money and the food and went and stayed in the nicest hotel in town and bought a very nice dress so she can go in to see the king the next day. The beggar stayed hungry and but not thirsty because he was at the well. Man, I'm so hungry, but at least I'm not thirsty. And I don't know what's wrong with kids these days. Anyway, and then all through the night, Humble walked, because she had stopped to help everybody. Prideful didn't stop to help anyone except herself. Humble stopped to help everybody. And then Humble finally came to the castle and to the city. The city was outside the castle. Right before the sun went up, and she was tired and hungry and thirsty, she went over to the well. And she tried washing her face. She didn't have any sleep. She's all dirty, and her sister was a jerk, so he left her behind. And then she was just about to eat the last piece of bread that she had. But then she saw the poor old beggar man. Yeah. And she had pity on him. She felt sorry for him. Like, look at this guy. He's pathetic. And she's like, he's probably really hungry, but not thirsty. So she decided, you know what? I'm going to give him my bread. He looks like he needs it a lot. Oh, he was blind. Like, not one eye, both eyes. Sorry, I forgot that part. And he's like, thank you. And then he's like, even though I'm blind and sit in darkness, I saw the light of kindness shining to my life. Whole wheat, my favorite. Thank you, little girl. Go in peace. And then it was morning, of course. So both Humble and Prideful were at the entrance of the castle, and they stood right next to each other at the gate. Humble was looking shabby and dirty because she didn't have a good night's sleep or anything. And Prideful had a new dress, and she stayed at a hotel, and she had food and all that kind of stuff. So she was looking marvelous. And Humble was looking really bad, tired. She had makeup on. She didn't, and she felt bad and had all these dirty old clothes that her mom made for her last year and all that kind of stuff. And so she felt really like she looked really bad next to her sister who had spent all the money on herself. Then what happened was they came to the entrance and the guard was like, show me your royal invitation. And they both pulled out the golden ticket or the royal invitation, and they're like, here it is. And he's like, all right, go ahead and see the king. And they went in, it was fantastic. Like, wow, look at how big it is, and all the marble pillars, and all the stones, and everything. And then the throne that the king was sitting on, they went into the throne room, and the king was there. And this is what happened next. Oh, welcome, welcome. So good to see both of you. And I decide that Humble is the best girl, the best child in the whole kingdom. But Prideful said, but your majesty, how can you say that? You haven't even had us interviewed. You've never seen us before today. Like this. What? I should be the best. And then the king that sneaky old monarch. The king said, "Ah, but I have seen both of you 3 times before today. Because," and then the girls realized as the king said, "Think back. I was in disguise. I was the young man dying of thirst next to the well, and you passed me by where your sister gave me water. And I was the man pretending to be a farmer with a sack of potatoes on my shoulder, pretending like I got attacked by wolves or something, and your sister stopped to help me, but you passed me by. And I was the man pretending to be an old war veteran with a thing over my head, pretending like I was blind, and your sister gave me bread to eat, and you passed me by." And that's when Humble was really surprised, like, "Wow, I helped the king." And Prideful was really surprised, like, "Oh no, I passed the king by 3 times just to get to the king, and then he was the one that I was passing by all those times." Tisk, tisk, tisk. So the king said, "Therefore I have already passed judgment on you." And then he said something that surprised everybody. The king said, "I am your father." Yes, that went off to the war and never came back, you know. Well, what happened was, look how surprised she is. So good to see you again, my daughter, after all these years. What happened was, I went off to fight in the king's war, and I got captured by an evil king. And he kept me in prison for a long time. And then the real king of our country died. But before he died, he came and he freed me from, he attacked the evil king, freed me from the prison, brought me back. He's like, "You know what? I don't have any sons. I'm making you the next king." And he died and he made me the king, and that's why I decided to hold that big contest for all the kids in the kingdom to see what kind of people my girls had become while I was away. And I found that one became really, really full of herself and didn't help anybody, and the other one became really, really nice and helped everybody. So I had this competition to have you interviewed, and then the king said, "Therefore, therefore Humble became Princess Humble." See, it's a fairy tale. She became a princess because her dad was the king. And they even had Mom come over from the little cottage, and she got to live in the castle. We still don't know her name though, but she's the queen now. And
you're just now telling me you came back.
Yeah, sorry. Take it easy, lady. We got the rest of our lives to figure it out. Now, then, Prideful, as a punishment for being so mean, she had to scrub dirty old cellar rooms in the castle every day after school. Anyway, clean the bathrooms? No, we wouldn't do that to her. Anyway, then later, even Prideful became a nice person, and she became crowned Princess Gentle. See, it took the edge off her. She became better too, so there's even hope for her. There. So Princess Gentle and Princess Humble lived with the king, the dad, and the mom in the castle. They all lived happily ever after. The end. So, in the Bible, yes, even the sack of potatoes can get in here.
Wait, the thing is,
She's a messenger. She should be the.
who's the one who becomes the queen?
So,
No, after you die.
I'll decide that later.
okay, so, wait, it's not finished yet.
Yes, it is!
So, in the Bible, Jesus said, "Whatever you do for one of the least of these, you do for me." Like if you visit people in prison, or you visit the sick, or you help poor people, you're being nice to them, but you're also being nice to God by doing that. And if you feed people, then Jesus says it's like you fed him, because there were people that came to Jesus, or that will be before Jesus and say, "When did we ever see you hungry and not give you anything to eat?" And then Jesus said, "What you did for the least of these, you did for me." So, how they treated the beggar and the injured man and the dying man and the thirsty man and the hungry man, that's how they treated the king. So how we treat other people, in a sense, that's how we treat Jesus. So that's the story of Humble and Prideful.
Now we're done.
The end. Yes, you're done. So clean your palace.
No.